April 2023. A quiet apartment tucked away on the edge of the city. No gunfire. No shouting. Just silence. When officers stepped inside, a man calmly raised his hands. No struggle. No panic. The same man who'd once taunted British police, posting selfies on beaches while topping the National Crime Agency's most wanted list. For 4 years, he slipped through borders. Lived under fake names. Moved money, product, and people while mocking the system designed to hunt him. But when the walls finally closed in, even he knew the game was over. This is the story of Alex Mail, Britain's fugitive supplier. As he sat in a Moroccan cell, one question echoed across Europe's agencies. How did one man outsmart half of the continent's police forces for this long? If fugitives like this can live among us for years without being caught, imagine what else you're not being told. Subscribe now, before the next story unfolds in your own city. Weston-super-Mare, Somerset. A quiet coastal town overlooking the Bristol Channel, better known for its pier and seaside arcades than organized crime. Yet it was here that Alex Mail grew up and began shaping the mindset that would later define his life. Those who knew him described a confident and ambitious man. Athletic, street-smart, and determined to stay in control of every situation. He wasn't reckless, he was calculated. And that discipline set him apart. By his mid-20s, Mail had drifted into circles involved in the region's expanding drug economy. Cocaine and ketamine were becoming fixtures across the southwest, supplied through routes linked to Bristol and Portsmouth. It was a lucrative system, and Alex Mail learned quickly how it worked. He studied logistics, distribution, and communication. He understood the value of trust and how to build networks that operated quietly beneath the surface. In a town built on calm and order, he found his first lessons in control and structure, traits that would one day hold an empire together. By the late 2010s, Alex Mail's ambitions had outgrown the small-town trade. He wasn't interested in street-level dealing, he wanted to control the supply chain. Police investigations later revealed that Mail began supplying other dealers directly, managing movement across counties like Dorset, Wiltshire, and Bristol. His operation was different. Every exchange was structured, every communication deliberate. While most dealers relied on coded phone calls and word of mouth, Mail moved to encrypted messaging platforms, a step ahead of the system. He was methodical, using digital security as a weapon. Authorities would later connect him to encrypted devices used in large-scale trafficking networks, but at the time, his name stayed off official reports. His approach left no visible trail, only fragments of digital aliases and usernames. To his contacts, he wasn't Alex. He was a collection of identities, shifting, detached, and untraceable. Those close to the trade knew of him but never met him. To law enforcement, he was just a shadow behind a screen. It was this distance, this discipline, that kept him hidden for years. While police targeted visible dealers, Alex Mail was already building a network that operated quietly above them all. By 2019, Alex Mail had risen from a quiet distributor to a name whispered in encrypted circles across southern England. He wasn't just moving product anymore, he was orchestrating an empire. Investigators would later trace his operations across Somerset, Dorset, Wiltshire, and Bristol, a network that handled over 130 kilograms of cocaine and large quantities of ketamine. Each delivery was mapped, each payment tracked through encrypted phones that, for a time, made him untouchable. He went by different names online, but two stood out. Original Dagger. Handles that appeared deep within the hidden channels of encrypted, a secure communication platform used by thousands of high-level traffickers. Behind those aliases, Alex Mail coordinated entire shipments, assigning roles, setting prices, and moving cash through laundering schemes designed to vanish on paper. His messages were short, sharp, and professional. There was no slang, no bragging, only logistics. When an associate complained about risk, his response was simple: risk is control if you understand it. That control became his signature. police were already seeing fragments of his world. Strange usernames, unexplained cash movements, burner phones changing hands. But they couldn't connect the dots. EncroChat's encryption was believed to be unbreakable. Entire investigation stalled because no one could see what happened inside that system. Then, in early 2020, something shifted. In France, cybercrime officers discovered a backdoor into EncroChat servers. Working with Europol and the UK's National Crime Agency, they launched Operation Venetic, one of the largest digital infiltrations in British criminal history. For months, they read live messages between dealers who believed they were invisible. Among those messages were thousands sent by Ragnar.com. Codes, payments, drop locations, all in real time. The walls around Alex Mail's operation were closing in, and he didn't even know it. But while police were quietly gathering evidence, Mail continued to expand. New routes opened through Bristol docks, and fresh contacts emerged in Spain and the Netherlands. He started collecting over £500,000 a day, cash that disappeared through layered bank accounts and shell companies. His confidence grew. He believed the encryption was unbreakable, that his empire was untouchable. Yet, in secret offices across Europe, investigators were watching his every move unfold, message by message. And then, it happened. The breach. Operation Venetic went live. Every alias. Every conversation. Every secret. The system he trusted most had turned against him. And from that moment, the countdown to his fall had already begun. If the police can watch encrypted chats in real time, imagine who's watching yours. Hit subscribe, because the truth isn't on the surface anymore. By 2020, Alex Mail had cemented his place at the top of the chain. To those within the network, he was known simply as the supplier of suppliers. The man who moved product in bulk, not to users, but to the dealers who kept the Regent Street supplied. Evidence recovered later by the National Crime Agency showed the scale of it all. In a single day, Mail could move enough cocaine to earn more than £600,000 in profit. Couriers ran deliveries across the southwest, Bristol, Exeter, and Portsmouth, while middlemen handled payments and launderers cleaned the proceeds through layers of coded transactions. Unlike many in his position, Mail didn't flaunt his power. There were no flashy public displays, no open threats. He preferred quiet control, a low profile wrapped in luxury. Behind the scenes, he traveled abroad under false identities, staying in high-end resorts across Spain and North Africa. Cars, watches, and accounts tied to offshore names, all hidden behind digital firewalls and shell companies. Meanwhile, in offices across the UK, police analysts were building maps. Bristol, Exeter, Portsmouth, red pins marking routes, couriers, and bank transfers. Operation Venetic was now reading live EncroChat messages, watching as traffickers planned drops and counted cash in real time. What had once been invisible was now fully exposed. And then, one message changed everything. Among thousands of intercepted lines, investigators traced the handle Ragnar.com back to a name they'd seen before, Alex Mail. For years, he had hidden behind screens and aliases. But now, for the first time, the man behind Britain's most elusive network had a face, and a trail that could finally be followed. June 2020. Weston-super-Mare. After years of encrypted messages and invisible networks, police finally made their move. Outside a local gym, officers surrounded a man walking calmly toward his car. No struggle. No chase. Just the quiet arrest of Alex Mail. For investigators under Operation Venetic, this was the moment they'd been waiting for. The supposed head of a multi-million-pound network, caught in his own hometown. Files were opened. Charges prepared. But what came next would stun everyone involved. Because of legal delays, backlogs in the courts, and administrative slowdowns brought on by the pandemic, Mail was granted bail. No electronic tag. No curfew. No travel restrictions. For a man who had spent years building escape plans, it was an open door. Within weeks, he was gone. Disappeared from Somerset without a trace. Investigators later learned he had slipped across borders using forged identification, moving first through the Netherlands, then Spain, blending in among other wanted men living under the radar. In Marbella, he was seen living comfortably, using multiple passports and aliases. Each sighting drew international attention, yet every time police closed in, he vanished again. Later reports placed him in Portugal, the same pattern repeating, just out of reach. Each time they thought they had him, he slipped away again. But what he didn't know was that the walls were already closing in, not because of betrayal from his crew, but because of the one thing he could never control, himself. This time, his own arrogance would do him in. 2023, Istanbul Airport. After years of evasion, Alex Mail stepped into an international terminal carrying a forged passport. It wasn't a gun that ended his run, it was a machine. A simple biometrics can expose the truth: the man standing there wasn't who his documents claimed he was. Turkish authorities detained him immediately. Within hours, he was deported to Portugal, a country already familiar with Britain's extradition requests. To most, this was the end of the chase. But for Alex Mail, it was just another opportunity to stall. With the help of defense lawyer Ricardo Alvarez Ayorio, a man the Spanish press called the lawyer of the devil, Mail launched appeal after appeal. Every motion, every loophole, every technicality was used to delay his return to Britain. Under Portuguese law, a suspect can only be held for 150 days while awaiting extradition. When the final day arrived, British officials begged for an extension, even offering to charge him with passport fraud. But the Supreme Court refused. Alex Mail walked free. Outside the Lisbon courthouse, he smiled for a photo, calm, confident, untouchable. Hours later, he was seen dining at a high-end restaurant, celebrating his release. By the end of the week, he was gone again. Intelligence later revealed he'd been smuggled into Morocco by criminal contacts, finding refuge in the city of Marrakesh. For weeks, he tried to disappear again: new flat, fake documents, even adopting stray cats to blend into local life. But this time, the net was already in place. Working alongside Britain's National Crime Agency, Moroccan authorities kept him under close surveillance. 2 weeks later, on January 21, 2023, they moved in. No gunfire. No resistance. Just a quiet arrest in a small apartment. He was taken to Tiflet prison, one of Morocco's toughest facilities. Reports described cells crawling with insects, no heating, and concrete floors instead of beds. After years of luxury, Alex Mail was finally living with the consequences of the life he built. He escaped for countries before justice caught up. How many are still out there right now? Subscribe, because the next one might already be closer than you think. August 2023. After months inside a Moroccan prison, Alex Mail was finally extradited to the United Kingdom. Escorted by National Crime Agency officers, he was flown back in restraints, a stark contrast to the life of freedom he once flaunted. On arrival, he was taken straight to a secure holding facility in the southwest. From there, he was transferred to Exeter Crown Court, a place not far from where his network once moved tons of Class A drugs across the region. The charges were clear: conspiracy to supply cocaine and ketamine, and money laundering. Evidence presented in court came from Operation Venetic, the National Crime Agency's largest ever encrypted communications investigation. Investigators recovered thousands of EncroChat messages, linking Mail directly to shipments, payments, and coded conversations with dealers nationwide. The prosecution described him as a central figure, a man who supplied other distributors, controlling supply chains that reached from London to the southwest. The judge called him the man supplying the suppliers, a phrase that echoed through the courtroom. In December 2023, the verdict was delivered. Alex Mail was sentenced to 18 years in prison. His conviction marked a major success for the NCA under Operation Venetic, one of more than 3,000 arrests across the UK, dismantling encrypted criminal networks once thought to be impenetrable. By the time Mayall's sentence was read, his associates had already received a combined 56 years behind bars. The empire he built through encrypted phones and offshore escapes had collapsed, piece by piece. In the end, the myth of being untouchable didn't survive the evidence. His downfall became more than just another arrest, it became a message. No matter how far technology hides you, or how many borders you cross, the signal always leaves a trace. Alex Mayall thought he'd built a fortress, one made of fake passports, encrypted phones, and careful distance. But when the walls finally closed in, it wasn't just a criminal network that collapsed, it was the illusion of control itself. 3 years. For countries. And a man who once mocked the system now sits behind bars in Exeter, surrounded by the same justice he believed he could outrun. The question remains, was it ever worth it? If this story gripped you, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, because more real investigations from across the UK are coming soon.